All right, we're live again. Welcome, everybody, on this Saturday to a new show I'm doing called Indie Film Talk. We have our first guest here, Josh. Josh, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Doing great. How are you?
Doing wonderful, I think. So a list of some of the stuff that our guest has been done is A Mannequin in Static, Judith, Honey Spider, In Hell Everybody Loves Popcorn, and soon Candy Corn. So you've had a very varied list of accomplishments. Please talk about your work and introduce the audience to yourself and your filmmaking career.
Well, yeah, I've been doing it for, I guess, 2008, 2009 is when I did my first indie film, A Mannequin in Static. And pretty much I did, like you said, that, Judith, and Honey Spider, which Judith was a short film. It was a Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween. People came from all over the country to shoot that. And the other two were original films. And so, they were passion projects that basically me and a bunch of different people came together, and I directed all three of them. I wrote A Mannequin in Static. Um, they were just all learning experiences. I didn't go to film school. I always wanted to be a filmmaker. I loved it for millions of reasons. And so instead of doing the videoing my friends skateboarding or whatever, if I had friends, maybe they would have skateboarded and I would have videoed them. But I just made a feature film, and it was A Mannequin in Static, and I learned a lot and continued to learn. And you know, that was kind of the first chapter of learning what I like, what my strengths and weaknesses are. And then after Honey Spider, I did And Hell Everybody Loves Popcorn, the documentary on Rob Zombie's 31. And that was sort of the beginning of what I call the next chapter, which is like the chapter I'm in now, I guess. And that was just sort of definitely a turning point. And then so I followed him around for a little over a year and shot this documentary. Did really well. It just came out in December. Lionsgate released it with 31. And now, because of a lot of the people that I met during the making of that, mixed with everything I've learned from the beginning, we're now doing Candy Corn, which is a story that was brought to me by Butch Bondreau of Butch-O-Vision, and I wrote the script and I'm directing the film. And so that's kind of where I am now, is taking all of the failures and learning lessons from the last however many years that I've been doing it, and creating Candy Corn, which is the first, I like to consider the first actual real film that I'm going to be doing. So
And I like that you say that the whole it's a learning process, because I feel like that's something that I have to stress to some people. Like I have some friends that are new to the filmmaking stuff. Not that I'm a veteran in any sense of the word, but I do see them talking about like, oh, I got this job, but I don't know, this person's work seems to suck, or whatever. I was like, yeah, but when is that short from? That's from like 4 years
yeah,
ago. They're probably a lot better now. And
yeah.
I think that's something that a lot of people don't take into consideration. But as far as filmmaking stuff, what can we go over? What are some of your influences that helped develop your style in filmmaking?
Um, you know, I don't know. That's kind of an interesting question because I've never thought about it. And I've had this conversation with some friends just recently about how filmmakers get their style. And we all kind of decided that it just happens from the beginning. And you never sit down and say, like, I really like this is what I want to make. At least I didn't, and most of my friends who are filmmakers didn't either. I think you fall in love with certain types of art. It doesn't have to be films. It can be music or paintings or photography or whatever. There's just something about it that attracts you. And I think, when you start making films as a director, that sort of bleeds through. And at that point, you're sort of just, a conduit for all of the things that you love. And so for me, I don't know, it's hard to say like what I was inspired by. I know the films that I loved still are just really usually pretty obscure indie films. I used to study certain films like in high school, I would study like Virgin Suicides and 21 Grams and American Beauty. I used to watch those films all the time. And there was just something very real and poetic about them all. And I always loved films, whether it was like Kubrick's films or Inarritu's films, that the camera, the cinematography was speaking just as loudly and significantly as everything else, as the actors or as the script. And to me, even now, now we've started shooting some stuff for Candy Corn, and I have an actual crew. I have a cinematographer, and I have a producer to work with, and we have a sound guy, and we have real actors and everything. And it's some crew, as opposed to all the other stuff I've done has just been me running around and my friends doing stuff. But it's the same exact approach. I'm just talking to more talented people. And so I guess I don't necessarily sit there and think like, I want this to look like 21 grams, or I want this to look like whatever. It's just, I see something and I know that it has to be X, Y, and Z. And that's not necessarily a direct influence, but it is, it has to be symmetrical. If someone, my thing, and people tease me about this, but like, I always say that if you stop the movie, I want every frame to be something you could just print that out and someone would want to hang it on their wall.
Like every frame's a painting.
Yeah, it's a motion picture. It's not, you don't just throw the camera up. And I've preached that, like I said, from day one. What's exciting now is to work with a really amazing cinematographer and really amazing set designer and really amazing actors and actresses who also get it and amplify that even more. But it's still the same for me. It's still, this has to be composed. This has to be very strategic, because you watch some of the, when you watch Kubrick's films, and he's someone that I obviously love immensely, and everybody praises him, but it wasn't an accident. He didn't just grab a camera and shoot whatever. Everything was very thought out, and the composition of every frame told the story just as much as the lines that the character is delivering. So to me, I guess that's my biggest influence. It's not a genre of film. It's not one particular film or director. It's a certain approach to, I guess, what filmmaking is to me, from where I see it through the films that I love, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes a lot of sense. And I really like a lot of your answers, because it really flows well into our next question is, can you discuss a little about your process, about going about the filmmaking process in general, when you're going about pre-production, then into production itself, and then finally post-production, where you're finally cutting everything together?
Yeah, I mean, everything I've done, I mean, obviously I can only speak to my own experiences, but everything I've done up to this point has been just an absolute circus. There's no pre-production, there's no rehearsals. Even production has just been, 9 or 10 of us standing around with a DSLR and shooting whatever. So, that I guess, and I appreciate that. I'm glad I got to do that, because you do have to work your ass off, and you're up against every challenge there is. I mean, every challenge you could possibly think of is a challenge. When you're indie filmmaking with just your friends, you don't have money, you don't have resources. Everybody's there for the same reason all across the board, and it's just to leave with something that wasn't here when we got there, and hopefully it's decent enough for people to be able to sit through it. So the process in that situation is just survival mode. It's just, let's do this. Here's the script. We've got however many days. It's definitely not enough, but we're going to try to do it. Everybody's going to be eating sandwiches on the go, and we're not going to sleep. And when we do sleep, it's all going to be in one house or somebody's apartment on the floor and whatever. And, you know, there is something, I guess, sort of, romantic about that lifestyle, but I don't think there's necessarily an intentional approach, you know, other than just try to get this thing done without ripping each other's heads off. Now, you know, doing a documentary like I did with Rob, there's not really pre-production there either, other than, how do you want it to look? How are we going to do this? We wanted it to be very raw. We didn't want it to be polished at all. When Rob first approached me, he said, I don't want this to be slick. I don't want it to be polished. I want it to look sort of, have that sort of tour documentary vibe, fly on the wall, getting everything, and it can be 10 hours. I don't care. It can be 100 hours long. I want to show what it takes to make it and to educate people. That was basically our pre-production meeting that lasted about 3 minutes. And then it was just chase him around. So a documentary is a lot different, but then you do, like right now, Candy Corn is months and months and months of pre-production. I'm very fortunate to be working with the people that I am, like Butch, my co-producer, who gets it. It's his story, and he trusts me to take the characters and the basic story that he created and write the script and run in my own direction with it. But he also is there for me and doesn't try to butt heads or question anything that I think is best for the film. And so our pre-production now is amazing. I mean, we're getting ready to announce some actors that I thought I would hopefully be able to work with in my 40s or 50s. And they've seen what we've shot from Candy Corn so far. In a lot of cases, some of these actors have reached out to us and volunteered to be a part of the project. And so this pre-production, which we're still kind of doing, now that we're crowdfunding. And so it's just very meticulous and it's very careful, and it's very orchestrated as well, just like how I like to shoot things. So I think that for me, those are the 3 stages of pre-production and kind of going into shooting, from just doing whatever with indie stuff, documentary, which I really love doing, but it's totally different. And then now it's a whole different world. It's a different beast altogether. Shooting something like a documentary is insane. It's absolutely insane. I lost both of my big toenails. They completely lost circulation in my feet, and they fell off completely while I was filming. Your schedule's insane, because you think about it. You watch the documentary, and I get people who will email me or whatever and be like, it's so great. You got so much footage, and the documentary is 2 hours long. And they're like, I can't believe how thorough it was, and Forbes magazine did a big article on the documentary and just said it was like the most thorough behind the scenes thing they'd ever seen. And it made them look at Rob Zombie completely differently, so much more respect than they'd ever seen him before. And it was really great to hear all of that, because that was my goal as the filmmaker. But what people often don't realize is that I had over 500 hours of footage, and I didn't stop. To get that, you have to be shooting all the time. You can sit down and eat really quick, but that's about it. You have to be shooting before Rob shows up, and you have to be there after he leaves. On a film like 31, on most movies like that, it's Monday through Friday, 12 to 14 hours a day, every day. That's the shooting schedule. So then I'm, maybe 30 to 40 minutes on each side of that, shooting the whole time, everything, running around like crazy. And you can't think about it. You have no idea how this is going to look. You're just running around shooting. You don't know if, Rob may wake up one day and decide this needs to change, or I'm going to fire everybody, or whatever. Not that he would do anything like that, but you see what I'm saying? It's like, you have no idea what's going to happen later today or tomorrow or 3 weeks from now. You just know that I'm going to be doing this for at least 2 months straight. And then we have a whole nother year of me flying around the country following Rob for other interview stuff and whatever. And you have to just get in this mindset of just like, I don't know exactly what I'm shooting because it's unpredictable. There's no script. I can't plan anything. One day we could be inside, you know, and I could be at Rob's house in LA and it's really nice and relaxed and just the two of us for 3 days. And then for a week straight, we start shooting at 2 a.m. or 2 in the afternoon and we stop shooting at 2 a.m. in the desert in LA. And you're cold and you're sick and you're dying, but you can't stop. You have to keep shooting. And you're the only one of the only ones that can't just go warm up in the van or something, because while every other job, even when you're shooting a narrative, you know, you can take a break because maybe you're not needed at that time. But when you're doing a documentary like that, you have to capture everything that's always going on. So that was, that was insane. Just myself through physically and mentally throughout that year, and especially those 2.5 months. But it made me a lot better filmmaker. I mean, I know the camera like the back of my hand. I can, the conditions I had to shoot in, the different lighting varying all the time, everything like that. I'm very confident now to pretty much grab any camera and make it look pretty damn good. And then, you know, something like Candy Corn, you have this great team. Everybody gets it. Everybody trusts your vision, hopefully. And if not, then hopefully they won't be there tomorrow. But, you know, it's just a lot different. It's just as much work, but because of that, I'm working just as hard as I always do, but I also have 5 other key people who are also working really, really hard. And because of that, the quality of the actual final product goes up. Everything about it is just enhanced and amplified. So it's a whole new experience. I love it. This is where I am now. I hope I don't want to revert to any of those other ones. Obviously, I love doing documentaries and I have plans to do more. But as far as the pre-documentary phase that I talked about, I don't ever want to go back there. I want to stay here and continue to evolve from here. And the final part of your question, post-production, when you're doing a film, it's pretty easy. You have a script. If you're organized while you're shooting, it's very easy. I edit everything that I do. I don't trust anyone else to touch it. I've tried it before, even with like commercials that I've directed. It's a nightmare for me. So I stay very organized, throughout the filming process, and I'll make notes of different takes that I liked and things like that. And then I have to, when I'm shooting something like this, I have to start editing right away. Like we shot a little bit of Candy Corn for the crowdfunding scene, and I had that entire scene edited the next day. It was completely done and ready for music. I didn't stop. I didn't sleep until it was done, because to me it's fresh and you were there. And if you sit around and wait on it, it just, I don't know, it loses that fire, it loses that momentum for me. So something like that, editing, you've got the script, you just basically go through, and if you're organized, you can say, all right, we have this take, this take, this take. It's just time consuming. You watch it and you choose maybe the best 3 takes from that scene, and you build it all together. And then, as you go through, you start working with pacing, and then I'm writing the score with a friend of mine in Texas. So, we'll write some stuff and put it to it, and then maybe this scene needs to change up a little or a lot. And it's just sort of ping pong at that point, you're just going back and forth. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's time consuming, but you have to love it. But
yeah, there is no like, I guess, yeah. I guess I like it.
Well, there are, and you'll see, you can watch movies and tell when someone had that mindset. Yeah. But what's different about editing a documentary is, for the one that I did, it was over 500 hours, and you sit down and you have, terabytes of hard drives sitting there, and you open it up and you're just like, all right, what do I do? Where do I? There's a million, probably an infinite amount of directions I can go with this. What do we do? There's no script. There's, it all happened, but I could edit it to, paint Rob out to be the biggest ass in the world, and only edit the things where he was frustrated and make all the actors seem like dicks or whatever. Or I could edit it to be like Rob was the only one who knew what was going on and the actors didn't know what was going on and they were just there to collect a paycheck. you know Not that I would have done either of those things. My point is, if you're not careful, it can come out that way. So my challenge for that was tell the story as true as possible. And now, it is. I mean, when I watch it, I'm very proud of it. Rob's very proud of it. And it is exactly what happened. And that's difficult to do because you do have to cut a lot out. You have 500 hours and Lionsgate wanted it to be 2. You have to cut a lot out. So you can't
Why
just,
can't we have our 500-hour cut of?
I had a 5.5 hour cut. I delivered it and it's out there somewhere. It's supposed to be coming out at some point. So who knows?
We can save that for when you do a documentary on Peter Jackson, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Do it. That'll be cool. But I don't know. It's storytelling. I mean, shooting is just getting the footage, and then to me, the film really happens in post production. And it's not just just the basic edit. I mean, the music and the color timing, everything creates the essence of story that you're telling. So
Yeah, that's something that reminds me of something I remember hearing from an old effects artist that all you're doing in production and post and pre-production is gathering assets. Films are made in post.
yeah, no, absolutely, I would totally agree with that. You know,
So you've been talking a lot about this candy corn thing. Can you tell the viewers what is candy corn and what can you tell us about it so far?
well, candy corn is a very exciting. I don't want to say a throwback. It's sort of a nod, if I can say that, a nod to 70s and 80s type horror films. And what I mean by that is we've created 2 iconic characters. We're inspired by the classics, Leatherface, Michael Myers, Freddy, Jason, the Tall Man, Chucky, the horror films that had 1 or 2 characters that were just, I guess encompassed
Icons.
whatever. And the story came to me, like I said, from a guy named Butch Von Dro. He has a company called Butch Vision that's a very successful merchandising company. And he found me from the 31 documentary that I did and basically said, I've got this story. And I was a fan of his. I knew all about him and his stuff and followed him. And he brought me this story and said, if you ever would want to turn this into a film, I'd love for you to be the guy to take it under your wing and do something with it. And I get that a lot, especially after working with Rob. I get emails all the time from people who have stories that, some of them are really good and some of them are not. But this one just was amazing. It was very short, to the point, but it was unbelievably original, which I think is very hard to do nowadays with horror and with saying that you're going to create just a character that is the killer, the slasher, whatever, and still have an original premise. So that really shocked me and impressed me. It got me excited. And all the other characters that were in it, I really just loved them. So I took it on and I wrote the script, and we announced, Rue Morgue magazine announced that we were doing this project and released our teaser poster and press release. And it was like within a week, people were getting candy corn movie tattoos and creating fan art, paintings, little videos, songs, all kinds of stuff. It just blew up like crazy because they loved the story. It was pretty much perfect timing with the documentary. So I had like a whole new group of fans that had found me. And Butch is super successful, so people knew what to expect from his mind. So that all happened. That press release came out in November of last year. So it's all pretty fresh, and there were a lot of people wanting to get involved somehow. And that's when we decided, we had a budget. We raised our own money, and we were just going to shoot it in June. And then because of this influx, I mean, if you look at my page, or like search the hashtag for candy corn movie, I mean, it's unbelievable how many people have our logo tattooed on them, and like couples have them like tattooed, like matching candy corn tattoos. And we hadn't shot anything. There was just a synopsis and a teaser poster, and here's the two guys who are making it. And so, and Pancho Moeller from Rob Zombie's 31 was attached as well whenever it was brought to me. And so we announced him like in January, and then it just took off even more. Everybody was really excited. So we started talking. We were like, why don't we try to raise more money than we have? Because the budget we have now will be cool. It'll be a good little indie film. But there's so many people interested, and it wasn't just like fans. I mean, we have and other filmmakers and distributors and stuff like, hey, keep us in mind for this. And so we were like, man, if we could just raise even another 50 grand or $100,000, which seems like a lot, but in the movie world, that's not a lot at all.
That's minuscule almost.
Yeah. But we were like, man, if we could just raise that, we could add another, couple kick-ass actors that will really, because there's not a lot of actors or characters in this. So, what if we did? And what if we could up the production value just a little bit better? Because I knew a lot of these really talented people from working on commercials and working on the documentary, and they're not cheap, but they're not outrageous either. So it was like, we're right there. And if we could just raise a little bit more and get the fans involved, because they're already going out and spending money on tattoos and creating fan art, what if we gave them something? So we decided we were going to crowdfund, which, we're doing now. We just started it. We're now in our beginning of our second week, and we raised over 30% already of the $50,000, and it's going really well, and hopefully just keeps going. But we partnered with Fright Rags, Trick or Treat Studios, Butch's Company, Forgotten Saints, and some other ones that we'll be announcing here soon. And they all came together and gave us stuff for the campaign. Like Fright Rags is creating an officially licensed candy corn shirt that's only available through the campaign. Trick or Treat Studios actually created the mask of candy corn that our killer uses in candy corn, and licensed it and announced it this year in their catalog. And so stores are going to be carrying that and this season. And so you can get it early you can order it earlier from the campaign.
Basically a pre-order option.
Yeah. And it'll, you'll get it when it comes out, which I think is like September-ish, August, September. But you can get your hands on it, and we hand number them and sign them and stuff like that. And so it's turned into just this kind of, it's kind of funny. It's kind of like what I used to do, creating films with people who are just really passionate and really want to make something great. But instead of just friends, it's Trick or Treat Studios and Fright Rags and Butchovision and Poncho and, Sean McKinney, my set designer who works on a bunch of stuff out in LA. It's like real people who are really amazing and do this for a living, but they love the story of candy corn for the same reasons that I did, and they want to be a part of it. So we're still set. We're going to shoot in June, probably the whole month, maybe first week of July as well. But yeah, it's, we got together, we rented a sound stage and shot a few pages from the script to show people what to expect. So Poncho's in this scene. I flew out pretty much the whole crew from LA, and some other people from, different areas. And we shot this scene and posted it on our crowdfunding page. And that's got us even more attention, because people see like, wow, this is a real movie. Like, this looks amazing. And yeah, so I don't know if that answers your question, but that's
it answers it perfectly. And so how is it that you went about, because you talked about crowdfunding, and I believe you at first, at least, I saw you had an Indiegogo thing, but then something happened to that. Can you please go over the process of crowdfunding and having to go with that option on how to raise funds for this film.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. Kickstarter and Indiegogo are the two biggest. There was one called Fanbacked, which Rob used for 31. I think Slash tried to do a project there, and Fanbacked apparently is just terrible. They went bankrupt, and they're no longer around. Basically, like if you follow any of Rob's stuff with 31, no one got what they ordered. Everybody bought all this stuff 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, and Fanbacked just didn't deliver it. So that's happening a lot with a lot of these places. I guess they just get their money and run. And so Indiegogo and Kickstarter are pretty much the two big contenders that are left. And what's cool is, if you're not familiar with crowdfunding, the basic idea is that, you create these perks, that we have a film, we show you a little bit about it, we tell you who's attached, and then we create these perks. And these perks will be things from credit in the movie to, t-shirts, DVDs, come out on set for a day, get robes and masks, whatever. And so we decided to go with Indiegogo because of a few reasons. Basically, number one, we wanted Butch, the co-producer, his company created all of the merchandise, pretty much 99% of the merchandise for Candy Corn. So he has pins, patches, stickers, t-shirts, you name it. He's made air fresheners, whatever. And he already made them. He owns the company. So rather than wait and ship them out after we raise the money, we wanted to ship everything out that day or the next day, just so we can get it out, show that we appreciate it. We're not just taking advantage of our supporters. And so Indiegogo let us do that, whereas Kickstarter didn't. So really, that was our determining factor. So we started doing that, and very quickly, like I said, it's only been up a week and a half. Very quickly, we started getting a lot of complaints about the fact that people couldn't, our list of perks on the page, they couldn't do multiple perks at once. And in a lot of situations, I would imagine that's okay, because if you're trying to make a 3D printer or start a restaurant or whatever, somebody may just want to throw you $50 and that's it. The Candy Corn fans are insane and are amazing, and they don't want to just do that. They want to support it all across the board. We have literally people that donate $1 just for, hey, thanks, all the way up to the first 3 days. I think we had 2 people do $2,500 each to be in the film. One of them's flying from Hong Kong. Someone's coming from the UK. It's insane. And so, and everything in between that you can possibly imagine. So these people really, they want to support it. And these platforms like Indiegogo and Kickstarter weren't allowing them to do it easily at all. So they would have to click on, hey, I want this, type in all the credit card information, type in their shipping information, confirm it, go back to the website, do another one. There was no way to do multiple ones. That was the biggest problem. Another problem is they don't allow you to upload photos of your perks. So we have all of this amazing merch. It's made, it's in stock, it's ready to ship, and we have to redirect them to another website to show them what it looks like. That's a headache and unnecessary. And those were the two big ones, that was like, we're asking these people to help us. They want to help us, and we're not making it easy on them. So we decided I can build a decent website. So we decided to create a website, and I built one in 2 days that had all the pictures, that had, add everything to one cart and do as many perks as you want at once. And the other big thing is huge, is that the crowdfunding platforms don't allow you to pay with PayPal. And most of our sales were, people wanted PayPal. Just click and go. And that's huge too for indie filmmakers. It's like, it's hard to get people to spend money. It's, you have them for a split second, and any little inconvenience, they may say, I'll come back to it later or whatever. And they might forget, life happens. So you have to make it quick and easy. And these platforms just didn't. So we accept PayPal and everything. So basically that was our solution to the problem that everybody was having, trying to help us, and it's working out great. You know, if you're doing a campaign that you're not selling the type of stuff that we are, you know, the quantities and I guess persistency that we are, you know, shipping stuff out that day or the next day, you're probably all right. But thankfully, that's not us. Thankfully, we have some insane fans and supporters, and we just had to create a better solution. And so far, it's, I mean, our amount raised has, you know, we're closing in on, I think we're getting like up over 15,000. Maybe, yeah, we're over 15,000 now. It's like climbing up toward 20 really fast. And we still have 3 weeks left, 3.5 weeks left. So that just shows you how amazing these people are.
All we need to do now is come up with a name for the candy corn fans.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's someone
Candy
out there.
cornies?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. But
Yeah,
those are some good points you raise, and I still find that weird that you can't pay through PayPal yet. At least when I did an Indiegogo thing, they let you get your money through PayPal. So I don't get what's going on there.
they just, I think it was this year, January, February of 2017, they stopped because that's the other problem is so many campaigns were getting people's money, and Indiegogo lets you take it. You don't have to raise all of it, you know?
Yeah, because they have flexible funding.
Exactly.
Options.
So something like Kickstarter, it's all or nothing. You know, we don't need a minimum amount. Anything we make is going to help us. You know, like every penny helps. If you're doing like a manufacturing thing and you need to make, you know, like that, there was that product, the coolest cooler. You know, you have to have a certain amount of money to produce those, or you know, in parts and in labor and manufacturing. So if you don't raise $100,000 or whatever, they don't get made. Well, with a film like this, especially where we have a budget already, every little bit just takes it that much further. So it didn't make sense for us to go with Kickstarter or something where it was like, if we don't raise 50 grand, it's not going to happen. Because if we raise 40, that's $40,000 more that's going on screen.
But I find that, sorry if
no,
I
go ahead.
for a moment. I find that some points that I've heard raised about why to get for filmmaking to go with Kickstarter is that actually that hindrance of the all or nothing can help you.
Yeah.
Because you can stress to people that it's not, your money's not being taken out now, so you still have a little bit of leeway to prepare for when the money gets taken out. Because that's one thing that a lot of people stress. Oh, I can't donate now because I don't have enough money. Like, oh no, yeah, you can donate now, and it's just you're just putting in your stock in it to say that, oh, I'm backing this. I put my, I guess, money where my mouth is, and helping you get to the finish line.
Yeah.
It's once you cross the finish line that you get the money taken.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and if that, you know, that probably works for a lot of people. I mean, but like I said, for us, we just, I don't mean to sound like we don't need the money, you know, we need it. But if we don't get there, you know, I don't know. I guess for us, it was, if you go with Kickstarter, you can't get their shipping information and stuff early. You can't do any of that stuff. And if you don't raise it, then you don't get it. Well, there's a lot of films that don't raise the funds. And even at 50 grand, which isn't a ton, but it's still a good chunk of change, you know, we want to send stuff out that day or the next day. And if we would have got to the point where we raised 40 grand, then we're screwed because we're paying for shipping out of our pockets right now. We're paying for all of that stuff. And we don't care because, you know, we're going to get it regardless because of the flexible funding. But to the point of the PayPal thing, I guess the problem from what I understand is that people weren't delivering anything, and then funders, you know, backers were going to PayPal saying, "Hey, I want my money back. I didn't get what I signed up for." And when that happens, I can imagine tens of thousands of times, you know, PayPal finally said, "We're done," you know, dealing with Indiegogo or whatever. So, but yeah, people want it. People want PayPal, and it makes sense. So, if you go to candycornmovie.com, you can pay with PayPal.
Well, that's good. And please, people, go to candycorn.com. Is that the
Candy corn.
website? Yeah, candycorn.com. And support him. It's going to be a very, very good movie. I can't wait to see it. And where can people also find you on the social medias? Where can they follow you?
I do Instagram and Facebook, mostly Instagram. You go to Josh_Hasty on Instagram. That's where I post pretty much every day, all the fun and exciting things going on. Or joshhasty.com.
All right, and I will be sure to have all that stuff linked below. I hope everybody enjoyed this interview. It's been a blast. It was a fun interview, and it was fun to talk with you, Josh.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. If you guys really like this and want to see more of this, please hit that like button. Give us a comment. I love hearing what you guys have to say. Hit the subscribe button, and while you're at it, hit the bell notification. That way, you'll be up to date with everything that I'll be putting out soon. Please, everybody, have a good day, and we'll see you on Monday.